wedi dychmygu yw fan hyn y byddai cywarch wedi tyfu ar waelod y llethre fan hyn.
I think we're very lucky in Wales to have a piece of legislation such as the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. In fact, Wales is still the only country in the world that has a legal mechanism to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals because of the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. But what it does is require us to think differently. It requires us to take into account society, economy, environment and the culture of Wales in the way we make decisions. It requires us to make sure that when we make decisions we look after the interests of future generations and we make sure we haven't compromised their ability to meet their own needs. It requires us to think in very different ways in terms of the management of the public services, and that includes the government. They're all required to think preventatively, to think long term, to collaborate with each other, to integrate outcomes and to involve people about whom decisions are being made. These are called the 5 ways of working, and they're on the face of the Act. And they're also required to achieve 7 goals that are linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. Hence Wales's leading role in the world in terms of having legislation to do that. And the goals themselves require not just the maintenance of current issues, but they require us to be ambitious. They require us to enhance biodiversity. They require us to make sure we are living within our environmental limits, that we will live low carbon and innovative lives to be prosperous. They require us to focus on inequality, to make better health outcomes because we look at the causes of ill health, to protect our language and culture, to make sure that our citizens can live safe lives in effective communities. And they also require us to make sure that when we do anything elsewhere in the world, and they require us as well to make sure that when we do anything else in the world, for example, food supplies or anything else, that actually we apply the same principles. This Act is really important at this point in time because all countries are looking at ways of bringing down their carbon emissions. But if we just bring down emissions in a technical way or just in the context of carbon dioxide, then what we will see is that action will be taken that is detrimental to nature, that is detrimental to society. And having the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act makes sure that here in Wales we will ensure that social justice and biodiversity enhancement are factored into everything that the government and public services do. One of the most interesting challenges in Wales at the moment, and particularly for me as the person who is now chairing a new group on Wales Net Zero 2035, is to look at what best we can do in a whole range of areas, one of which is in terms of land management. And we know that if we look at the pathways, the balanced pathway in particular, outlined by the Committee on Climate Change, that in 2035, agriculture will still represent 35% of Wales's annual emissions. And therefore this is a really important area to look at whether or not we can do things differently. Now time will tell in terms of the work of my group and the many experts on it and the opportunities I want to give to farmers and others to input their expertise in terms of what the best routes might be to ensure that we can deliver net zero by 2035. But it does strike me that there are some real opportunities in looking back to the future. When we look back literally thousands of years, we see that people used hemp, for example. And we know that in the context of the Centre for Alternative Technology, that hempcrete was used in terms of the main building. And hempcrete offers so many values to us all for the future. For example, it's very easily worked with lime. It's very good in earthquake-prone areas because it's very adaptable. It provides an excellent organic alternative to concrete when mixed with lime and sand. And we should be looking at these sorts of approaches. But of course, that's not the only thing that hemp can do. I mean, hemp is a crop that can provide paper, that can provide oil, that can provide protein, that can provide milk. It's a crop that can provide rope, and then I'm sure there are many other things that it can also provide that we have yet to experience. But because of its association with cannabis, it is a crop that in the UK is only allowed to be delivered under licence. And so I don't think we're taking enough opportunity here, as they are, for example, in France and Canada at the moment, when they are actively promoting hemp as a crop because the climate works. And if their climates work, our climate could work too. So I think we should be looking at whether or not we are growing the right crops and we are growing enough of the right crops for the things that we need. Because to reject a crop that has the potential to do so many things, so many positive things in our lives, seems to me a very short-sighted approach, when what we wanted to try and do through the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act is take that very long view.
So the point is, everybody used to wear hemp and grow it for many, many different purposes, and part of this artistic journey is to get people thinking a bit more about it, because there's only a couple of generations ago that, you know, we've stopped doing it. And why have we stopped doing it? Well, because the Home Office decided to have this licence barrier thing going on because of the THC levels and all the rest of it.
I'm no expert, so I don't know what the real potential of these crops are. But I'm always interested in the fact that if our ancestors were able to use these successfully, with the opportunity to apply technology, with the opportunity to look at increasing biodiversity, then we should be looking at any opportunities to create crops that give us more than the monocultures we have become used to. So I'm very interested in this project and to see whether or not we can grow hemp and test its uses.
Cywarch mewn dau lais. Petasau gen i bastwn, mi faswn yn ddigwestiwn, yn codi ti fel mansiwn, yn nill y byd hen ffasiwn, o hemp, hemp, hemp. Petasau gen i bastwn, ni fasau angen cwestiwn, can scodwn gair a garsiwn, i'n gadw rhag demtasiwn, bewn rhemp, rhemp, rhemp.
Ie, mae'n siŵr sef, ni'n gallu ffeindio gornel fychan. Ti'n bod, dwi'n mwyn cael chydig bach o hadrandau, jyst i gael... Ie, fysa'n diddorol iawn. Ie, jyst cael dweud bod ni wedi tyfio yn cywarch yn tyfio yn cywarch.
Bydde hwnna'n ffantastig o'n y prosiect.
Dys ydy dim ond yn cael seis o...
Ie, bwr yma.
Seis o tŷ ma'n de, ti'n bod, y gegin ma'n de, ti'n bod.
Ie, achos beth bydde ni'n licio ni?
Ffeindio ni gornel fel a, dim problem yn de, ti'n bod.
Bydde hwnna'n ffantastig.
So ni'n meddwl, set lan cwmni bach, so mae'n limited company dy fi, a wnes i edrych mewn i'r industrial hemp yma, a jyst meddwl, mae opportunities fan hyn i pawb fel. So tyfo ni, so goffo ni mynd trwy'r holl broses o online processing o wneud y licence. So dwi'n i'r Home Office i gael licence, cymryd hwnna rhyw 3-4 mis.
Achos mae'n am deadline osa, rhywbeth i'n gwneud diwedd maen, rhywbeth yn ysgu golli few, 2 dyrnod.
End of March, April. So too late wedyn ni, so ti'n neud y blwyddyn nesaf. Ti'n cael 3 licence, industrial hemp licence, so da fi blwyddyn ma nawr i ti fi a blwyddyn nesaf.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg. I'm chairing the session. And it's a pleasure actually to get the opportunity to hear Heledd talking about this project, which I first heard about quite a while ago now, and obviously it was very exciting when it was launched. And obviously Heledd is going to tell you all about the project, of course, which is called Troi Tir, Regrow Hemp. Well, it's an artistic project made as part of a collaboration under the Future Wales Fellowship scheme about the uses and usefulness of hemp. So I'm going to hand over to Heledd. She's going to talk for about 30 minutes maybe, and then we'll have time for a bit of a discussion at the end as well. So I'm just handing straight over to you, Heledd.
Okay, diolch yn fawr iawn, Greg. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, pnawn da to everybody. Thanks for turning up today. I'm here today at CAT. It's a really fantastic place. Partners in this amazing fellowship. I was so excited when I was awarded this fellowship. What's valuable to me, which you'll find through these slides, is the power of art and the power of what we as artists can achieve through communicating and conversing and having conversations with and drawing light onto certain solutions, positive solutions that we can find and portray and convey artistically, visually in our work. This hugely exciting project came about because, well, I'll tell you the background story when it comes to it, but it's called Troi Tir, and this was the application that I put forward to the Future Wales Fellowship, funded by the Welsh Arts Council, Natural Resource Wales, and partnered with the Centre of Alternative Technology. So I'm very, very honoured and thrilled to be part of this. And the one thing that was strongly coming through with this fellowship and the application was that we were to find solutions or to come up with solutions that will help us be sustainable in the future. And one of the things that came about was that actually hemp, even though it's the future and we think it's a new crop, and IBAs, which is in Aberystwyth University, have been funded quite a substantial amount of money to look at hemp and to look at the science of it. But actually, we've been growing hemp for 400 BC for a long time. So it's part of our history. And this artistic practice that I'm looking at is in partnership with the science, with history, and with the future. And we can learn so much from the past, but we can also use our imagination to imagine a future with sustainable crop. Now, for a while, at the beginning of this fellowship, which started in April this year, I was slightly overwhelmed because I thought I had to find the answers to all of the problems, but actually it's just one solution, and I have to come back, always come back to the simplicity of this extraordinary magical plant. And part of it is to raise awareness and to educate, to work in partnership with the community and also with community-focused groups and people who are also currently working very hard and enthusiastically under the theme of food. So the Natural Resource Wales remit was to look at solutions for food, energy and transport. And so I focused on food. And here, as I'm based in Machynlleth, there's an extraordinary forward-thinking community where people have already had solutions for many, many years, CAT being one of them, and having been here for nearly half a century. So I came about thinking about agriculture and what we do as food, and dissecting the word agriculture. And agri is extracted from agriculture, meaning the science, art, or occupation concerned with cultivating land and raising livestock. Ultimately from the Latin ager, meaning field. So basically it's not to do with just what we do now, it's what happens in the field. And so what I did was I took myself into an acre of field where they were growing hemp and thought about its culture, the ideas, the customs, and the social behaviour of particular people or society, which is in my Filltir Sgwâr, which is my square mile in Machynlleth now. So looking at basically what can arts and culture do? And I think the Welsh Arts Council, Natural Resource Wales have been really forward thinking and actually thought the arts and culture have a huge impact on the way we live our lives, because make issues visible, comprehensible and relevant. We reach new people in new ways, and we frame and imaginate. We use our imagination in order to recreate something. We create spaces for discussion, consultation and empowerment. We also build a consensus and communities, and just move that. We have, because we are ultimately historically sensitive people, we care about our physicality and our well-being for others in our community. We also have a reputation for chatting a lot and listening a lot, and also to agitate and to expect the unexpected. And so these are the issues that I thought of when I was given this chance, and to look at the field, a field of ideas. And so that's what my starting point is every day. And just to go to the project itself, Troi Tir, Regrow Hemp. So my initial title was Turning. We are turning a new leaf. We are turning the land. We are at a tipping point, as it were, for humans. And it's an artistic exploration of how food and the act of eating is central to contemporary life. Now, I have a friend who believes that powdered food is the way to go, that the Huel, and there's no advertising there, is the way to go, to have space food. But actually, I enjoy eating, and I enjoy cooking, and I enjoy watching things grow, and I enjoy getting my hands dirty and growing things. And this community-focused artistic project will result in a series of films about the local food production cycle and its impact on the community. Now, here in Machynlleth, we've got this extraordinary scheme which is called Edible Mach, and there are pockets of land all around the town where people have growing food and people can pick it at their leisure. Obviously, there are community people volunteering, working really hard to ensure that that food is grown. My task then is an artistic work which looks closely at the basic elements of food and eating habits in order to challenge our fixed ideas about eating and food, as well as creating the food of the future, and the food of the past. So working towards what I heard on the radio this week, there's a 0+ carbon Britain because they want to have an extension, but working towards a 0 carbon Britain, which here at CAT, they're working very hard at, and a massive programme in order to do that. So this 0+ carbon Britain, the project explores how much carbon is used in the production and consumption of locally produced food, as well as how this will affect the people living in Wales. This artwork will challenge how we think about our relationship with food. Now, this week is a climate week in Wales, and there have been some very interesting talks online, including from the Assembly members, scientists, historians, people trying to find solutions. And it's so exciting and full of hope, because it can be quite a pressure and can be quite a weight to try and find solutions. But I think with positivity, energy, and enthusiasm and artistic endeavour, we can find solutions and implement them as well in our daily lives. Now, Nina Simone came with an extraordinary quote here, which I will play you the YouTube link to in a minute. But she understood the power of art, the power of music, the power of culture to change people's minds or to have an impact. And I think with this artistic project, it can't stay away from the political aspect, because ultimately it's tied into economics. And throughout these months that I've been exploring this project, I've been talking to a lot of farmers, and they need incentivizing, and especially having
well, not now being part of the Europe Union and all the regulations that it implies, farmers who grow need incentives, and I think we need to work with each other in order to have an impact. And so art, science, politics, historians, learning from the past, working towards a future. I'll play you this clip.
An artist's duty, as far as I'm concerned, is to reflect the times. I think that is true of painters, sculptors, poets, musicians. As far as I'm concerned, it's their choice. But I choose to reflect the times and the situations in which I find myself. That to me is my duty. And at this crucial time in our lives, when everything is so desperate, when every day is a matter of survival, I don't think you can help but be involved. Young people, black and white, know this. That's why they're so involved in politics. We will shape and mold this country, or it will not be molded and shaped at all anymore. So I don't think you have a choice. How can you be an artist and not reflect the times? That to me is the definition of an artist.
And so that has huge resonance for me. And at the time that she was saying it, it was a different political landscape, but her words have an immense impact on me as an artist. And I think my duty as an artist is to encourage, enthuse, empower young people to get involved with their creativity, with their artistic expression, and with their political landscape and with their survival. And so my duty to the Future Wales Generation Act and with this project I feel slightly responsible. So reaching out, I want this project to be empowering with a solution, to have fun with it, to be enthusiastic about it, to try and initiate a change in policy. No mean feat. So that was Nina Simone. And then, just to give you some context, my mother took me for a walk. She's from Pennal, Machynlleth, nearby. And she took me to a walk in north of Dinas Mowddwy, which is not very far from here. I don't know if you know your geography, but it's not very far. It's an extraordinarily beautiful dead-end valley where one day during the Second World War, an aeroplane crashed at the top of Cywarch. And she took me for a walk here, and I said, well, what is the meaning of Cywarch then? What is this Cywarch? And she said, well, it's hemp, Heledd. How do you not know this? And in this extraordinarily beautiful valley, much hemp was grown. There's a farm there called Blaen Cywarch, and it's farmed by a wonderful farmer called Hedd, which interestingly is peace in Welsh. And so it just felt like a magnet for me. And I've been exploring there, visiting there quite regularly as part of this exploration. And I will just play you this. I took a drone up here and met these cows. And I thought, oh, actually, these cows are part of our landscape and the sheep are part of our landscape. It's what we've come to expect of our landscape in Wales. It's what's been here, but it hasn't always been here. This was once forest and hemp growing. And when Henry VIII came and decided to tell the farmers to grow as much hemp as possible because that would enable his sails and his ropes and the bits between the plank, apparently I heard this week, in order for draft and water to not go into the other floors and below deck. So hemp was a vital part of our agriculture, and it was an industry. And here in Derwen Las, they would take it down to the valley, to the river, to create sails and ropes and so forth. And I just imagined these slopes growing hemp. And I asked Hedd, the farmer in Blaen Cywarch, please could you grow some hemp for me? And he said, well, it's not that easy, Heledd, because you have to fill in a lot of forms and you have to send it to the Home Office in London, and they have to, review and come and take stock and make sure that they're not growing it for cannabis. So I've avoided saying that word up until now. And this is part of this project, is to raise awareness and say, actually, there is so much more to this plant. And it's a giver, and there's much more than cannabis to be had, and we can actually grow hemp without any THC. Because I've been working then with IBERS, which is part of the University of Aberystwyth. And also another statistic I heard during this Climate Week this week online was that there's been a 28% reduction in CO2 emissions since people have eaten less meat in the last 3 years, apparently. So that's extraordinary, that when we see cows in our landscape, they are one thing that we can look at. And then somebody asked me yesterday, well, how can they differentiate between cow farting, excuse my language, but cow farting and diesel fumes, you know? So it's yet to be discovered. So the Future Wales Fellowship then, as I said, it's an award from the Arts Council of Wales and Natural Resource Wales. It's art as a means of understanding how climate change is affecting people's everyday lives. And it's a focus of a new study by me. So Natural and Aberystwyth University. Natural Resources Wales and Arts Council of Wales have joined partners, which I've explained, part of a wider programme of work linked to a creative nature memorandum of understanding, to better understand how art and culture can play a beneficial role in engaging people in key issues such as climate and nature emergency. And I feel that it's an honour and an opportunity to develop my creative practice in film, as well as work with community to devise artistic and scientific strategies that will influence a more sustainable life in Wales. So if we look at this diagram here, so it's creating change, supporting artists, looking at decarbonisation, nature and biodiversity, and ethical choices. So I've explained about Cwm Cywarch. I've taken you there virtually. And I looked then more into hemp Cywarch, this hemp valley. And apparently this plant breathes in 4 times more carbon dioxide than trees. And 1 acre of hemp can remove 10 tons of carbon air from the air. It actually absorbs CO2 while it grows, making it a carbon negative crop. And these short artistic films that I will produce and producing will explore the impact of climate change and its biodiversity, the ecosystem, and the living community of that area, comparing the past, the present, and the fruitful, fertile, and feeding crop of the future. I'll be working with musicians, poets, scientists, and the community to create 4 explorative films that will explore the cycle of this crop, which has multi-beneficial and carbon neutral properties. And here's a sign to Cwm Cywarch. It's not on the main road. It's an extraordinarily beautiful valley. And whilst I was doing my research in the archives in Dolgellau, I came upon these beautiful maps, and you can see all around how very, well, you wouldn't think many things could grow in these steep valleys, but there is a flat bit of land, a floodplain, which is a beautiful, beautiful valley to grow hemp in. And I really believe that people should be. And it was only in the last couple of weeks that I was speaking to Jane Davidson, who used to be the Assembly Member for the Environment. Now she is the chairman of the new agricultural policy, which is a very exciting thing because she listens and she's a doer. And I was trying to say to her that hemp should be on their programme and that Wales should be in charge of what is grown, how it's grown, and for whom. And all these fields, some of these fields, the hemp did grow. And so I've been working with IBERS and looking at this piece of land. We were too late to fill in the form for the Home Office this year, but hopefully next year. And anyway, Cwm Cywarch, os am gefn gwlad, wel dowch I Cwm Cywarch, ger Dynas Mawddwy, ymlaen Dyffryn Dyfi, pen draw'r byd yn llythrennol felly. So it's the end of the earth. And you can see how steep those slopes are. Pan gyrhaeddwch chwiflaen Gywarch, nid oes modd mynd ymhellach, os na fedrwch chi ddilyn y llwybr defaid dros dannedd y graig i ddrws y nant, neu ddringo a phalfalu drwy'r drws bach i gopa'r aran fawddwy. Rhyw gwm bach rhyfedd ddi siap ydyw. Mae geg yn gul wrth Abercywarch ac yna mae'n agor fel cwpan, a mynyddoedd mawr ochr y llethrau gwyrthion sef. Yn y pen pellaf y mae Craig Cywarch yn rhythu arnoch, a dim ond ambell wdl dafad ar lwybr Llywelyn, a'r brain mawr yn nythu yn ymyl y grig a'r llys. And that was from a book about Meirionnydd. Now, I won't try and translate that very poetic bit of Welsh, but it's basically saying it's a dead-end valley. And that, metaphorically, for me, was a huge challenge, because is this a dead end for us on this planet Earth? Or can we find a solution through this small door that's at the end of this valley? And this hemp, this Cywarch, for me, is the small door that we have to walk through in order to get to the top to see the 360 view. And here's a postcard from 1984 of the farms there. And so I've been working with animators and musicians and poets in order to create, these are just very, very basic samples of photographic and film experiments, and they're just tasters. So I will play you these. Be dwi wedi dychmygu yw fan hyn y byddai Cywarch wedi tyfu. So this is where I imagined that hemp was grown. Waelod y llethrau fan hyn, on the bottom of the slopes. And so I've been working with an animator who will animate the hemp growing here without the THC. And I've also been working with Mererid Hopwood, who is a poet, and she has created a beautiful Welsh poem, which...
Cywarth, mewn dau lais. Petasau gen I bastwn, mi faswn yn ddigwestiwn, yn codi ti fel mansiwn, yn nill y byd hen ffasiwn, o hemp, hemp, hemp. Petasau gen I bastwn, ni fasau angen cwestiwn, can sgodwn gair a garsiwn, i'n cadw rhag demtasiwn, mewn rhemp, rhemp, rhemp.
And so, you know, that's got a rhythm to it. And basically translated, if I had a stick, I would, without question, build a house like a mansion in the old traditional way of hemp, hemp, hemp. And if I had a stick, I would, without question, because I would build a garsiwn to not be tempted and live in madness. But she's talking about hemp, and part of this artistic project is to raise awareness that it isn't about cannabis. Basically, it's got history, hemp was grown, and hemp has lots of, it's multifaceted. So basically, food is elemental to human survival, especially as we face the climate crisis. Working in response to the Welsh Government's Future Generation Act, it is paramount that we as artists and humans respond rapidly to the crisis. It's an opportunity to have a positive impact on what we eat and how we consume it in order to reduce carbon emissions and live in a sustainable environment. Wales, as we know, is a forward-thinking country, and it's at the forefront of ideas on climate change. And Machynlleth is a town with real answers in terms of community living. And this work will focus on the area, like I've said, of local food production, specifically at hemp. And my main aim is to instill hope for the future generations, motivating change to agricultural policy in order to respect farmers and the land we live in, and to create an inspirational films and captivate a community to prompt them to consider their consumption. So that's the basic theme of the work. And so that's taken me on very many different avenues, as you can imagine, lots of golden threads to follow. And one of them is this regime, which is the Liberate Hemp Overgrow the regime, and they are one company amongst many, Good Hemp, Hempen, lots of different companies that are trying to grow hemp in a more sustainable, economical way. So the intention then is to produce an informative and beautiful art installation, including film and photography. I've already had making and creating workshops, for example, making socks and books and making things out of hemp materials. I've been collaborating with other artists, young people in schools, the Land Workers Alliance, and I intend to have exhibitions in Aberystwyth and in Cardiff and to have publications of the work. The benefits of growing hemp then, it's one of the most versatile, prolific and synergistic tool available to tackle key environmental challenges. It remedies contaminated soil, improves soil structure and nutrient levels, and can lead to greater yields in follow-on crops such as wheat. Hemp grows without the need of pesticides or herbicides and needs minimal water. It's one of the most effective CO2 offsets, and it can grow up to 3 meters in only 3 to 4 months. And I've seen that with my own eyes. Hemp is a sustainable raw material and can make approximately 10,000 plus environmentally responsible biodegradable products, including plastics, fuels, and fiber. Most importantly, hemp can empower small communities by providing local manufacturing and industry opportunities. So these are the words that I've been echoing in my conversations with not just Jane Davidson, but Lord Harlech VII, I think he is now, who's actually, I've discovered in the last month, got a property near Harlech called Glyn Cywarch. So it's all revealing itself. So these are the facts that I've been percolating. It's been growing for 8,000 years. Its plethora of uses include milk, protein, material, and oil. As you know now, it absorbs 4 times CO2, ease of growth. It's a flagship sustainable crop, 6 times as strong as cotton, excuse the typo, and it grows in most soil types. It's just a no-brainer. And so the responses suggest that hemp has potential to become a viable alternative crop to be grown across Wales with a number of uses, including clothes, products, medicine, and recommended the crop should remain eligible. Others indicate the crop has good environmental credentials with deep roots, good for soil structure. And this is a quote from Sustainable Farming and Our Land, proposal to continue and simplify agriculture support for farmers and the rural economy by the Welsh Government in 2020. And so this needs to happen quite quickly. So me as an artist, I'm only a small cog in this huge machine of connectivity and relationships with farmers, growers, craft people, and consumers. And that's one of the challenges, is to get consumers to consume hemp products. There is a shop in Aberystwyth that does sell very many hemp, but wouldn't it be great to have more? So I've been working with to create a Wales Hemp Association, working with Aberystwyth University, with farmers, artists, interested individuals, architects, builders. Some photographs have been taken at Ibers. And this is the film I made for Ibers in the last couple of weeks that they have taken to America this week.
Ploughed quite a while ago now, probably about 2 months ago, we ploughed. And then it was, then we ran a sort of complex cultivator over the ground. Because in the early stages, hemp doesn't compete terribly well with weeds. Fairly soon, it will knock out the rest of the weeds that are left. This crop grows so fast, it's very impractical in probably 3 weeks' time to go through the crop at all. Planted it at the end of April, and it's now It's now the 16th of May, and it's germinated quite quickly within a fortnight, and it's already producing a reasonable amount of biomass. And then what we will do is we will let it carry on growing, and by about midsummer, it will be about 2 meters tall. And then it will start triggering some flowering. And at that point, we'll probably take samples, and then we'll continue running the crop until probably early September.
Because people ask, like, can we even grow it here? It's like, oh, yeah, pretty well, actually.
And in here, we've got 15 varieties in 3 replicates. as a variety trial. And also we've got 4 extra plots for someone to do some more detailed analysis of what goes on during the season.
One of our businesses is Unite Hemp. So we've been researching how hemp can really impact multiple different aspects of decarbonisation across various different industries, but also how it can benefit the farmers by having crops in their, well, having it in their crop rotation. And that's benefits for biodiversity, carbon sequestration is this big one, but also it improves the soil structure.
What we're doing today is we've now got the hemp crop fairly well established, and what happens is it grows initially very rapidly and then slows down to grow, slows its growth down as it flowers. So what we do is about weekly record the height of the crop. So obviously we use a simple ruler and a record sheet, and we just go through and measure 10 plants in each plot. Of course, our purpose is to find what pharmaceutical compounds are in all of the varieties we've got here.
In September, they harvested the last of the hemp that was grown this year. And now, yeah, we're stood in an empty field. The hemp would have been harvested by hand and baled up according to variety or cultivar that they were growing, and then taken over into one of our buildings to be stored. It's important to keep it in good storage conditions. So now it's just nice to kind of come full circle and see that the harvesting has been done.
Hemp is a good crop to grow because it's got minimum inputs, and it's a spring-sown crop that grows very fast, so it sequesters carbon really quickly. It's got useful outputs in terms of seed and fibre available now, and has the potential to produce CBD compounds of much higher value when legislation permits.
And so IBERS have been looking at the CBD content for pharmaceuticals and have taken it to America to see the partnerships and the funding opportunities. What I'm looking at 4 different elements, which is basically working with material, oil, milk and protein. And so I've been working with the Scottish Hemp Association in the field and making sure that we're staying away from the THC content and there's enough funding for the CBD content. And so my creative practice will lead me to not only making films, but photographic documentation and also an art installation that will incorporate these 4 films, but also the artifacts that I've been working with, which is milk, oil, hemp material, and the protein. So they're the concepts that I've been working with and will be exhibiting in Aberystwyth in May, in the Senedd in March, and also in Cardiff at the end of the year. And just basically going through the process. And my process has made me also look at the process that we could be doing in Wales. We could be processing milk, processing oil, processing protein and processing materials, because that's where the investment needs to happen. Is we can grow it, but how do we process it and make sure that we have enough material for the consumers? Because the product of hemp makes healthier people, carbon negative products, superior performance, the CO2 waste and the plant waste. So you can see that at the beginning of this presentation, I said to you that it's an extraordinary plant. Well, now I hope that you're beginning to realize that it is. So my visual exploration will also take me to a concept artistic exhibition where I will be showing films, but also concept art that I am playing with at the minute. This visualization I'm being supported by a steering group made out of architects, a maker and gardener, a designer, farmers and builder. And also in my processing, I'm mapping that impact through exhibition, workshops, community outreach programs, and working with other businesses which are making products out of hemp, including bike helmets. Here in Dezeen, there's a little article about it. Also, I've been having public engagement. So I am really working as a bridge between these various different elements, scientists, consumers, industry, policymakers. Yeah, so I've been doing workshops here, like I've mentioned before. We're also going to host a feast to look at the edibles of hemp. So I feel like efo ben byd bont that I am currently working as a bridge. Now, my time won't allow me to go through those links, but I'm just drawing attention to these things. We're going to have a feast in January. I'm collaborating with a fellow who's looking at seaweed as a solution. We're going to celebrate local produce at midwinter. And it's going to be lavish and joyful and simple and memorable. And it's going to be a food performance, and I'm going to film and photograph it. And we're going to include hemp and seaweed on every plate. I've also commissioned a maker to make some socks, and the strapline is pull your socks up, because actually we don't want to be too serious with this work. I don't want to be too serious with this work. It needs to be light and airy, and these beautiful socks are soft and yeah, very comfortable. So pull your socks up. Another concept I've been working with is get on your high horse, which is an idiom. And I'm going to make 4 different films, one a documentary, one a kind of dramatic film, beautiful, romantic with a white horse, another one which is going to be surreal, and another animation. So I'm broadening my technical filmmaking abilities. Because the get on your high horse and pull your socks up are idioms that we all use, and I just want to play with them. Basically, this high horse is a visible display of sustainability, and that moralistic high horse that comes with them has become yet a status symbol, because actually these products are expensive, and part of this piece of art is to get everybody thinking that there are ways that we can all have an impact, that we can all make a difference with the things that we consume. So the themes and elements of my work: sustainable local food production, farming traditions, healthier living, a change in eating habits leading to well-being, local community and fair society along with the artistic relationship with food and the land, employment and economics, and working with policymakers to try and have an impact with that, historical documentation that will gather information and draw comparisons with perhaps World War II and the land army that happened then, the pandemic in rural Wales that we're going through or have been going through, working with the Future Generation Act with the positive statements, Welsh Government. And the project will work with volunteers, schools and colleges and young people who need to be empowered. This interactive installation and responses to it will be a record, and it will be reused for future learning, hopefully. I'm here today at CAT, and the beautiful lecture hall that you see here has hemp in its walls. And so, yeah, we're learning. I'm running out of time, I think, so I won't keep you very much longer. This bilingual year-long artistic project is an exciting thing. It's a conversation with and within the community, following the cycle of sowing, growing and harvesting, sharing artistic content on various platforms to communicate inspired work. It will be a beacon, hopefully, to celebrate the relationship between art and science and farmers with traditional and technological artistic concept, an artistic exploration of the community's artistic relationship with food and its production. So just talking to Hedd here, he says, yes, I can grow cywarch in Cwm Cywarch.
Just cael, o'n i wedi tyfio yn Cywarch yn tyfio yn Cywarch. Just wedi dim ond yn cael seis o...
Ie, bore ma.
Seis o tŷ ma'n de, gegin ma'n de.
And so he's not the only farmer that has agreed to grow hemp. And they're very willing, very wanting to find solutions. My artistic vision is to make something fly, to have a structure that we can fly and it can land, but I'm currently working with that. As I've mentioned, these are the types of films, the genres that I want to create, and these are the materials that I am working with. I will benefit from this project through conversations about climate and zero carbon issues with the communities. I'll explore digital film techniques to find innovative methods of digital display without consuming too much. So I'm working with solar and effects to extend my knowledge of the power of film as an art form with respect to the environment. I'm excited to explore new and innovative forms of filmmaking which involve social commentary and interaction to show a treasure map from seed planting to crop in order to tell the story of food production. And the outcome of this project will inform future generations, hopefully, through workshop and artistic processes captured on film. Hopefully will be archived in Aberystwyth Film Archive. There's a timeline of my work. And by investigating the reintroduction of hemp in Wales as a fruitful, fertile and feeding crop of the future, in my practice, I can attest to the innovative and motivational benefits that working along artists, musicians, poets, scientists, agricultural workers and businesses in opening the subject up for discussion, particularly for its capacity for relationships building across sectors. As part of this is another a presentation altogether, and I would like to share this with you. One of the concepts I have as this artistic journey is a diwrnod non day, because we in Wales celebrate Dewi Sant, but Dewi Sant wouldn't be here without his mother, and his mother was called Non. And my vision, what I would like to happen is that we all switch one thing off on Mawrth y Cynta on March the 1st on diwrnod non day. And I will have an event at the Senedd on the 2nd of March to celebrate doing the small things, which was Dewi Sant, which he probably learnt from his mother Non, Gwnewch y pethau bychan. So I'm working with the Assembly Member for the Environment at the moment. And I'd just like to finish off with a quote here by Albert Camus, create dangerously. There is no need of knowing whether, by pursuing justice, we shall manage to preserve liberty. It is essential to know that without liberty, we shall achieve nothing, and that we shall lose both future justice and ancient beauty. Liberating alone draws men from their isolation, but slavery dominates a crowd of solitudes, and art, by virtue of that free essence I have tried to define, unites whereas tyranny separates. It is not surprising, therefore, that art should be the enemy marked out by every form of oppression. It is not surprising that artists and intellectuals should have been the first victims of modern tyrannies, whether the right or to the left. Tyrannies know there is a work of art, an emancipatory force, with its mysteries only to those who do not reverse it. Every great work makes the human face more admirable and richer, and this is its whole secret. So I encourage you to read that, and I encourage you to create dangerously, because I am, as an artist, trying to create dangerously by playing with the hemp crop and trying to reverse people's preconceptions of hemp, because they think that hemp is cannabis, but actually hemp is so much more.
Yes, I'm very interested in this project. One of the things that I think is most appealing is the process, and its test bed for a process. We've gone into a bit of a difficult fix regarding our relationship with the world. So if we can use this as a live lab to get into the habit of looking at the past and looking at the present in order to look at the future.
I don't know about how you feel about this, but this is really reflecting on one of our most important designers, Vivienne Westwood. Very aware that she was such an outspoken activist, and she was a voice for everything to do with sustainability and to do with our potential choice of fabric. So I don't know, this is just putting it out there. This amazing area of fabric can actually send out a message without speech.
I'm a grower in the local area. I grow vegetables, but I'm branching out into field scale at the moment, so I'm very interested in the idea of growing hemp. Yeah, I did a craft degree, and I was very interested in natural fibres and very interested in the fibres of old that we used to use in the UK, like nettles and like hemp and like flax, and they're just really hard to get hold of. They're so hard. There's not much processing, and some of the processing is, well, most of it happens abroad. So for instance, this hemp here is made in Italy, but we had to get it all the way from Lithuania, and there was so few options for hemp to buy for yarn. They all came from abroad. There was nothing in the UK at all, and nothing of a high quality, like ready to knit. So yeah, to have locally produced hemp, which grows so well here, would be amazing, and to have all the facilities to be able to produce it. I'm knitting a pair of socks with 4 needles. They're entirely hemp. It's really hard wearing, so it should be perfect for them. Yeah, as I said, there's so little hemp available, so this isn't perfect sock yarn. It's quite a fine weight. So to produce like a range of things for different purposes would be brilliant. Of lighter weight, like shawls, or knitted in with other yarns, or sort of lightweight tops and cardigans, kind of a lace style. It smells like sunshine. A stash of sunshine. Yeah, sort of herbal and all kind of hay-like, but warm. It's been warmed by the sun. Starting to get some colour. It's picked up quite a lot of the gold from it. Oh, it's brilliant. That is sunshine, trapped sunshine, preserved in cloth.
Life giving water. Falling drops feed and nurture. The source of each cell.
And I would probably 17 inches, which is.
It doesn't have to be that size though, does it?
Like trying to
Yeah, you can't get too hot, can it?
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's really true.
Hey.
Yeah, that's basically it. And then you'd have the long piece of string.
Sugar
cane.
As
long as you want to apply it, that can apply.
Yeah. Ooh.
So now we need to cut it and take it.
So you might want to have a piece of card with a whole length of coloured string on just here. And that might take part of the installation if it's on a bigger scale. Or it might. It might be the rope that leads out to the entrance.
Portion.
Cool.
Please don't take care of the colour.
Do you need to hold it? Get the lines ready.
Set on there, and then it's kind of like that, and then there they lash.
That's great, isn't it?
It's extreme.
Yeah, do both. I like it how it sort of forms a screen as well.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? And then it utilises the inner space with the outer space. So turn notches in correct direction and tie too tightly together at halfway point with household string. Soak the string with glue. After the glue dries, wrap the joints tightly with masking or duct tape. Make 2 of these cross pieces which will hold the frame together. Well, I think you need to worry about the glue, just tie them tight and pull it in. It's almost like a wigwam or a... You basically want to tie across.
Oh, no, a lumper.
Yeah.
But not as lumpy as mine was.
Apology for that. Was that the rice milk or oat milk? That's it. You could just make a narrow gap. It doesn't have to. It's still okay to have a stripe. It's just. Just to guide it. See, I reckon these joins could be beautifully made with bars and sort of you know, like I like it how the mountains should have that. You see what I mean? So I'm not sure whether it does anything that you can scale up to this size. Is it Dutch notation? This right. Sure, they're parallel. I get that.
Have we got these in the camera at the right place? I know, but we can fold it in.
Can't get them. See what I mean? They're coming in. Yeah, so sort of halfway to hold those ends, try and keep them parallel. You could make this shit with a sewing machine. Yeah. I don't know how big it is, but it must be some pretty big stuff with a sewing machine.
Scented, bountiful, bouquet. Strong, generous fun.
You invited me to be part of the focus group for the project for Hemp, which I came to. It was really interesting, and I came away with it from that, with a lot of ideas of actually putting hemp into some of the projects that we're working on in our practice. It's a natural building product, so it breathes, and so it works well with a lot of different building systems, such as timber frame, which is one of the building systems that we're using quite a lot. One of the other big advantages is it's quite light. It's also a fantastic insulator, which means that it can be used as an internal lining to insulate. It can be used externally to insulate, and that's really good for the U values, which means your home stays warm in the winter and stays cool in the summer. So this is a hemp sample from Hemp Span for one of the projects that we're working on. Quite exciting.
And what will you be using this for? What is it?
This is a hemp board, so this will be used as a replacement for plasterboard internally. Hemp is a sustainable, safe, long-lasting material that is excellent for use in buildings.
Oh wow, there's been so much happening, and I haven't done this vlog for such a long time. Heb wneud hwn ers tro. Beth sy'n digwydd? Wel, mae eitha tybydd yn digwydd. Lot o sgyrsiau, lot o ddarllen, lot o wylio, lot o cyfweliadau am Ibers. Maen nhw wedi torri'r cywarth nawr a dwi ar y ffordd I ffilmio nhw yn y laboratory gyda'r cywarth fibers. Felly mae hwnna. A wedyn, beth arall sydd wedi digwydd? Dwi wedi ffindio allan am le o'r enw Clun Cywarch sydd yn agos I Harlech, a dwi wedi cysylltu gyda Lord Harlech, 6th Lord Harlech, I weld os gallai fynd I ymweld â lle, bydd hwnna'n amazing. A wedyn, dwi wedi bod yn sketcho pethau fel wedi bod yn stryglan gyda'r holl gysyniad actually a meddwl, gosh, how is it going to manifest itself creatively? So wedi bod yn sychu lot o hemp. Wedi bod yn siarad gyda Laura Donkers sydd yn byw Seland Newydd ac yn gobeithio parhau a datblygu'r prosiect gyda nhw a'r bobl Māori a cymharu y ffordd maen nhw yn Troi Tir nhw ac yn defnyddio cywarch a beth yw'r polisi yn Seland Newydd. A wedi just bod yn tymlo chydig bach ar goll ychydig gyda'r prosiect achos mae'n enfawr. Wedi hefyd bod mewn cynadleddau ar-lein ac Earth High Masterclass pre-COP27 a mae hwnna'n digwydd dwi'n credu wythnos yma dwi. Anyway, mae gymaint yn digwydd ac weithiau mae fe chydig bach yn overwhelmed, i bod yn onest. Felly mae eisiau casglu popeth yn hyd mis Ionawr a nid yn siŵr bod popeth yn cael ei gynhyrchu a'i